This programme is proudly sponsored by BYD, the #1 electric vehicle in the world and the fastest growing brand in the UK car market. BYD and Super League Raw, building our dreams together. And the home of Super League Raw, the Bluebell in Warrington. Make this your pre- and post-game destination for the best food and drink in town. Welcome along to another one-to-one here at Super League Raw, and we have got a lady with letters behind her name now on with us this afternoon. Tara Jones MBE, welcome to Super League Raw.
Thank you, and thanks for having me on.
It's an absolute pleasure. Are you actually writing MBE? Is that on your emails now?
No, I've not actually updated anything, not in terms of my emails and things like that, no. Obviously, a few people have used it to address me or whatever, and it's still a little bit bizarre, kind of getting used to it. So, yeah, I'm sure that will come in time that it becomes a little bit more normal to me.
Well, we'll get that out of the way first, seeing as though we've mentioned it. When the letter arrived, um, talk us through the emotion of that. I mean, what a moment for you and your family.
Yeah, it was a bit crazy, really. Come down one morning, there's a letter there on the floor, in the porch, and I was like, okay, what's that? I picked it up, and the envelope was that formal. I actually thought I was in trouble. I thought it was like a fine or something. But I knew it was, if it was bad, it was bad because the letter was that formal. But obviously I've not done anything to be in trouble for, so I was a bit like, I'm gonna put that down, and that's a bit of a later problem. And then I milled around for a little bit, and I went back to it. I thought I can't leave it because it's stressing me out. What is this letter? So I opened it, and then I read the first line. It said like, you've been awarded an MBE. So I rang my sister straight away. We did have to keep it confidential, but I told very close family, in strict confidence, that I'd received this letter. And yeah, me and my sister discussed it, and it was only when I read the letter out loud to my sister did I realise what it actually was a little bit more. Because at first, like I say, I thought I was in trouble, or then I thought it was a bit of a joke. But yeah, no, it was a really special moment. And then told my mum and dad, and they kind of didn't believe me at first either, but showed them the letter and stuff, and yeah, they're all made up.
Few tears, I'm sure. Very proud moment for
Yeah.
you and your family. You've not had the medal received yet, have you? You've got to still go down to the palace, I believe. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. So I'm just waiting for a date, to go down to either Buckingham Palace or Windsor Castle, and receive the actual award in terms of the physical medal, and be presented that. So just waiting on that date. But yeah, hopefully that comes soon, and I can share that with some special people in my family whilst they're still here. So
Well, absolutely. And I mean, for me, having been to both, Windsor Castle is beautiful, absolutely beautiful. If you're there, you'll enjoy that weekend. It's a lovely, lovely place. But no, many congratulations on that. And it's great for you personally and your family, but also for the sport, because of course you're linked to rugby league. And for too long, rugby league has not had these type of honours. I mean, there's a massive crusade, isn't there, for Kevin Sinfield to pick up a night, which I'm sure he will in the future. So yet again, you being a flag bearer. Is this weight of responsibility weighing heavy on those shoulders of yours? Because you are a bit of a trendsetter, aren't you?
yeah, like thank you for that. And I don't see it as a weight bear. Like obviously, I hope that some young girls coming through look up to me, and we've got young female match officials coming through now, and I know they come to me for some advice and guidance, and they kind of do follow my footsteps, and kind of they do follow some of the things that I do. So it sounds a bit daft, but the shirts are always generally quite big, and they flap around on our sleeves. So I personally tuck my sleeves under into my own skins, and I know a few of the younger girls have started to see that. Well, like if Tara does that and that seems okay, then I'm going to do the same because it makes the shirt feel and fit better. So yeah, I kind of just do what I do, and if I can inspire the girls along the way, then that's absolutely brilliant. And then off field as well as on field, if I can help and guide them and support them, then I will just do that. It's not. Yes, it is my job, it is my role, but I just like to help people in general. So when sometimes I don't realize I'm doing it, it's probably just my personality coming out. And yeah, I'll always help and guide anybody, whether it's a female match official or somebody down the street. I think that is just kind of my personality and my traits too. So yeah, I just do that. And it's the same as when I was playing, we would play, and why wouldn't we want to support more young girls and boys, coming through? You're always going to put an arm around them and guide them along the way. So yeah, if I can do that job at the same time, then it's a win-win really.
Eric Cantona got collars. Tara tucks her sleeves in. Hey, everybody's got the traits. Wonderful stuff. But yeah, I mean, you're talking there about young girls, and you for me, you were at the dawn of the movement that was women's rugby league. I think you were one of those early trendsetters getting into the game as it started to get a bit of prominence. And when you go round, I mean, for example, you officiated the Wigan St Helens Grand Final last year, and there was a lot of young girls in that crowd wearing the names of the women players. Do you take pride in that you were at the start of that movement and where it's got to now and where it should get to in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I've been in a fortunate position, and sometimes when I do these kind of interviews and we look at the opportunities young girls have now, I actually say that I'm jealous of the opportunities young girls have and the playing opportunities and the opportunities within the game overall. It being visible that you can go and be a female match official, it's visible that you can go and play for your country, you can go to Australia and play over there, and there's opportunities and things. Because when I first started, like you say, it was that movement of the game. When I first started playing, when I got to 12, I had to stop playing at Crossfields with the boys' team in Warrington. I
Yeah.
went across to Warrington Girls, which it wasn't linked with a Super League side. It was just like a town team. And at my age group, there was a handful of players. I was probably one that went week in, week out. Everybody else flitted in and out. We would arrange maybe, I don't know, 3 dates a year where you would go to one venue and everybody from different towns would meet from across the country. And if you had 3 players, they had 3 players, they had 3 players, you would merge together to create a team. You've never met those people before. You might play 3 20-minute games and you're off home. The standard wasn't that great either. So I'd been playing for a few years, and that's no fault of any of the girls that were playing, credit. They're on the pitch playing. Brilliant. And I hope some of them are still playing now. But to then look at where the sport is, and the opportunities for girls, like that transition is unbelievable. And like you mentioned, to see all the young girls in the crowd at the grand final last year, um, that would just been unheard of. If you'd have said that to me all those years ago when I first started playing, that you're going to have a women's grand final live on Sky, I don't know what the figures were, but around 5,000 people in the ground, I wouldn't have believed you. But yeah, it's happening. It's on the growth and it's on the rise. So that's amazing to see. And like I very nearly quit playing at 12 years of age. That's why I went into officiating, because I knew I loved rugby league. If it's within you, it's within you, isn't it? So I found a different avenue, which was refereeing. Luckily, I continued to do both because of the opportunities I got, and the achievements I got within playing as well as refereeing. But I think for young girls now, they don't have that worry, they don't have that concern. They can choose on their own terms what they're going to do.
How sad is that at that young age you're very nearly, because let's be fair, you had a glittering career. We'll probably talk about that as well. But you made that decision to officiate, one, because you clearly love the sport. You wanted to do something within the sport to do
Yeah.
that. And you felt that was at that point in time perhaps your best way of having a career in the sport. And now what you've actually done by default is not all young girls out there are going to be equipped or have the courage. And I will say that. I mean, some will. I mean, let's be fair, it's a brutal sport, and there's no
Yeah.
there's no shame in that. If a young girl goes and tries, a young boy goes and tries playing rugby league, and it's just not for them, but they love the sport. Refereeing, officiating is another way of them, getting a career in the sport. And like I say, by default, you've shown all those girls out there that, hey, if you don't want to play the game, look at what you can do in the world of officiating. So again, you being that flag bearer.
Yeah, definitely. And like also the other end of it is like the retirement stage. So I know I retired on my own terms because I had such a good opportunity to go full time as a match official. But some people could look at it as an opportunity of when they deem right to retire, whether that be through injury or age or selection, whatever that may be, or on their own terms, that they could go into officiating. They don't necessarily have to be ready to take that step into full-time or professional rugby, but they can just start refereeing. Like, you can start at any point. It doesn't really matter. So whether you're a young girl making that decision or wanting to try both, because also I want to show, and hopefully I have shown over the years, that it is a possibility to do both. And that's to male players as well. So we've got some lads that are on like scholarship pathways or whatever, but also they want to give the hand at officiating, so that if their career doesn't work out playing wise, they've got that to fall back on. But yeah, no matter who you are or what level you're at, whether you play or not play, then it's an option.
And let's just talk about your younger years as an official. We'll come back to the playing side in a moment. Now, the beauty about where you're currently officiating is the safeguarding element. You're in a safe space. You're in stadia. In most cases now you've got cameras on you. However, park pitches are a different kettle of fish, aren't they, for both sexes, especially people in the middle. Now, rugby league over the years has always had a great respect for referees, but I've seen, unfortunately, some poor behaviour is starting to happen at park level on park pitches, which is upsetting. And I think that's the football culture maybe coming in to rugby league. When you started out, let's be crystal clear. Nobody expects a young lady, how old would you have been?
Uh, I was 12 when I waited for my 12th birthday to do the course. Yeah.
There you go. So in your teenage years, when you're walking out as the match day official, nobody's expecting a young lady to walk out and referee a rugby league game. Talk us through that early education piece in terms of, did you find it difficult? What was your relationship with those crowds at that time, the players? How did you navigate it? What were your challenges? Because I'm sure the young girls out there that may aspire to be you would really want
Yeah.
to know what perhaps they're going to have to face as well.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm not going to hide away from the fact that unfortunately things do happen. There's some people out there that will put a lot of pressure on referees, and it is abuse, referee abuse. It happens. In terms of dealing with that, you've got to fall back on, that there are teams out there, there are coaches, there are parents, players, fans. There's more that are supportive than not supportive. It's just those that are not supportive probably shout louder. So you hear that, and it's probably more prominent on game day. And yeah, you've got to deal with that in the moment. It creates a lot of emotion. You've got to have thick skin to take that. And it's not correct that we have to take that. But then if you report it, deal with it in the correct way, the correct channels will deal with it. You've got to fall back on like your societies, like I say, the teams that are supportive, etc., your development officers to support you and guide you through that, because I believe those sort of times, the toughest times, are the times that make you the better official as well, because now that leads me personally in good stead to deal with the challenging aspects of a game within the professional game. You can deal with those situations better. In terms of being a young girl and a female and people not expecting that, I've got a couple of stories where I turned up to a game once and I was about 13 years of age. And as I always did, I went over, presented myself. I said, "Hi, I'm Tara. I'm the referee for today. One team. Yeah, brilliant. Didn't bat an eyelid. Fine." Goes over to the other head coach. "Hi, I'm Tara. I'm the referee for today." He just looked at me up and down and he said, "A girl?" Literally, these are the words of a fully grown man. A girl? Like, do you know the rules? And I was a bit like, now, I was a bit stubborn and probably still am. That's why I went into refereeing, because I was a bit like, nobody is going to tell me that I can't be involved in a sport that I want to be involved just because I'm a girl. So I found a different way, which was refereeing. So with this guy, he asked me, "Do I know the rules because I'm a girl?" And I just kind of said, "Well, you'll find out in a minute when I'm refereeing your team." So yeah, off we go, kick off, and something genuinely happened. Like, it's a penalty against that team. And it was quite close to the touchline. So I'm stood there and I'm like, "Shh, penalty," and I just kind of was like, "Don't know the rules now." Maybe I shouldn't have done that. I was a young kid. Probably wouldn't do that now. Maybe not the smartest thing to do, but it got the reaction I was expecting. And at the end of the game, he actually shook my hand and he apologised because I'd proved myself. And I think that's part of it. That if you're strong and you go out and you just don't let people affect you. Go out and prove who you are and what you stand for. Then sometimes you can change people's opinion. Look, there's going to be people out there where you're never ever going to change their view. They're always going to be who they are. And I think that's down to them. That shows more of who they are than who you are. So, yeah, you have got a thick skin, but there's lots of positives of doing it as well. And, lots of opportunities ahead. Like I've had the opportunity to go full time, referee grand finals, referee live on Sky. You travel abroad. That's just my officiating career. There's plenty of opportunities in the sports. There's more positives than there is negatives, definitely.
Absolutely. And let's hope there's many more that are inspired by you and take up the profession. We'll just quickly go back to your playing side, because we can't have you on and gloss over that, because let's be fair, you were very, very successful as a player. Countless Challenge Cups, grand final winner. Talk us through your playing days. And let's be fair, you've already mentioned it. You retired very, very young. So walk us through your highlights in your professional career as a player, and then just touch on why you decided to retire so early.
Yeah, so obviously I've been very fortunate, I actually made like the international squad at quite a young age. I think I made my England debut at 17, 18 over in France. So obviously that's a massive highlight in my career. It's going making your international debut. And that was pre-Women's Super League. So still then I didn't know where things were going to kick off to, and the scale it's on now. I was playing at Thatto Heath in St Helens because they merged with Warrington Girls, so naturally people ended up there. So yeah, that was a highlight, and I actually scored 2 tries on my debut for England, and I remember scoring the first one, and then the ref gave it, and I just stood and cried. And then I thought, what are you doing? You're playing rugby, like crack on. So obviously we cracked on with the game. So yeah, that's something that always sticks with me. Really special moment. And then over the years, Women's Super League forming, it's not all just about on field. That's a massive highlight, to make that next transition again naturally, because most of us were at Thatto Heath from that merging transition. Even the girls that were from Warrington, including myself, we trialed and transitioned to St Helens. And then I was asked to become the first captain of Saints. I think it was in 2018. So again, that was something that I wasn't really expecting. And then on the back of that as well, off field, I managed to get a full-time job within the club, out in their foundation, coaching the community, coaching young kids, vulnerable adults, things like that. So yeah, that was really rewarding role as well, and set me in good stead for some jobs that I've had on the way and now. And then back to on field, yeah. Geez, where do we even start with Saints Women, and within my playing career there, the success that they had and things like that. We won the Challenge Cup, and then that transition to being played at Wembley too. And another highlight is that first year at Wembley.
Tried again.
Things you can't even write. I managed to score the first ever try at Wembley, and
yeah,
it was a bit of a whirlwind that weekend as well. So we arrived at Captain's Run on the Thursday, and I remember saying to Matty Smith, head coach at the time, like, look, I'm going to train tonight, obviously, but I'm not quite sure what's wrong. I just don't feel well. But I'm going to train, and I just felt absolute rubbish for the whole session. But I got through it, went through it. And we were travelling down to London on the Friday morning. So we get to the stadium, met for breakfast and stuff before we went, and the doc was there. So the doc was like, right, come here. And turns out I have tonsillitis. So the day before the Challenge Cup final at Wembley, I'm diagnosed with tonsillitis. And I'm really not well. Like, I was really poorly with it. So doc gives me medication and stuff, and we travelled down. I was like asleep for the whole journey down there. And yeah, I was close to not playing in that game. So for me it's a bit of a whirlwind really, because obviously I didn't feel well, the occasion, the emotion, everything that happened during the game, scoring that try and then winning. As a team, we were very proud of that, and it was a very prominent moment for women's sport in general. So yeah, that's another massive highlight. And then we managed to do it again the year after. So yeah, that was really special. We won grand final and league leaders once or twice between them. And yeah, for me personally, there's those personal achievements, as well as getting to the 2021, which was played in 22 World Cup. representing England at a World Cup, which was one of my personal goals. I was approached previously about my officiating transition from playing to refereeing and things like that. But I knew that I wanted to go and try and play in a World Cup. And if I didn't try and go and do that, it was all selection dependent, but I would have massive regrets. And I kind of wanted to have no regrets. So I went and tried to be selected for that World Cup, and luckily it paid off. I played in every game bar one, played in a World Cup semi-final against New Zealand.
Brutal game, that wasn't it? Brutal
Yeah,
game.
it was very physical, very tough, fast. Again on a big stage. We got first hand to experience that next level of the sport, the women's sport. So yeah, that was good. So I ticked that off, and then in that transition time afterwards, Wembley came along. Things just kept coming along. But then when I was approached to make that transition, I knew the time was right, and I could make it on my terms. So that's what I did. But yeah, in terms of the playing career and the time at Saints, was incredibly proud of the group that we had, and the girls, where the sport's gone to come now. The girls across all teams, to transition into Women's Super League and create the competition that it is now. The girls, the background staff, the RFL, they've done such a great job to have that where it is now, from, like we've discussed, my first playing career when I was a child. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, an incredible career. I mean, when I come across, I mean, we was with Martin Afai yesterday at the Wigan launch. When you come across those older legends of the game, even they say that the game now in the men's side is completely different.
Oh
It's
yeah.
far more brutal than it was back in the early days, even as far back as probably the 90s.
Yeah.
It's a completely different sport. And it's the same with the women's game, isn't it? The women's game's evolving all the time. I mean, the specimens now that the women actually are,
Yeah.
all the time, more professional. The hits are getting harder. At times now you must look at it and go, I'm glad I've got a whistle.
Sometimes, yeah. Some things happen in some of my games or whatever. So I did the London Widnes game a couple of weeks ago, and
Yeah.
the Widnes kicker, I think it's Jordan Abdul, puts a high kick up. The London fullback catches it, and Jordan chases kick, and he absolutely just flattens him. And legal, fair, absolutely everything, just absolutely flattens him. And this poor fullback, he just disappears. And I thought, oof, like, I'm glad that's not me anymore. And I think that was a moment of, yeah, I am glad I've got this whistle now. Like, why did I ever used to do that? But, I still would now if I could. If I could do both alongside each other, I still would. There's something daft in your head, isn't there, to get you to do that. But yeah, no, it's all part of the game. But yeah, when that hit happened, I think that was a prominent moment where I was like, I'm glad I've got this whistle now, because that must have hurt.
There's more to come. There's more to
Yeah,
come. You're gonna have many an ouch moment on somebody else's behalf on a rugby league field, I'm sure.
absolutely. Yeah,
Speaking of I mean, look again. I think because of your MBE, and I know you're going to take it in your stride. You've already told us that wonderful story on the park pitch. You're not afraid of proving people wrong. But I think because of the exposure of the MBE, I've seen you on the line at countless games over the years. But your transition and your ambition is, of course, to get into the middle of a Super League game, and that will come. I think there's no question that will come. The question is when, not if. Just on this, I want to stick on this Widnes game because I think the eyes of the world are going to be on you a bit more. I think people are going to take a lot of interest in you, which again, this weight of expectation, you are going to set that pathway for other ladies to come through as officials. And when I watched the Widnes London game this year, we spoke when we had a quick chat last week about Campbell Gillard, who ran very close to the wind, it has to be said. We had a bit of a chuckle about it last week. And I think officials make decisions. And what I love about you coming on and what I loved about Aaron coming on is by having these conversations, people realise how hard it is to be an official and what's going through the official's mind at key moments where every fan's got an opinion. So there would have been a lot of Widnes fans who believed that Campbell Gillard should have at least gone for 10 at one point during that game. And we spoke about why he didn't. So to the best of your recollection, just walk us through that management of Campbell Gillard against Widnes and why he didn't go for 10.
Yeah, so like I say, best of my recognition now, there'd been a few occasions throughout the game where things had happened. Him himself had given away a couple of penalties. They had been spread out throughout the game, so they weren't necessarily back to back. And then there was a few six agains, which, I think Campbell Gillard gives away a penalty. Then there's a couple of six agains by other people, and then there's another penalty by Campbell Gillard. And, I chose in that moment to give him a firm warning and try and work with him. The actual incident itself wasn't a standout yellow card, it is just a penalty on field. So if at any point in that game he was going to go for a yellow card, or anybody on the London team for that matter, it probably would have been him, because he was factually the most prominent of giving away those penalties. It would have been for repeat offences, not one isolated alone incident. So I think your first port of call sometimes can be to speak to players and kind of tell them where they're at. And yes, he was very, very, very close. He was on a very thin line. And, I was a bit like that on whether to or not. And I made that judgment that I could give him a firm warning at this point, speak to him at half time, and see if we get a change in behaviour. Which we did. If you watch that second half, we did get a change in behaviour, so that worked in that instance. There's other incidences where that won't work, and you will have to go to the next level, and we're not afraid to do that. If he'd have carried on next play, give another one away, then yeah, he'd have gone in the bin. Or if he'd come out second half, not just Campbell Gillard, London as a team, in that one particular game, then somebody would have been finding themselves there, and that was the threshold I was at, and discussed that with my touch judges at half time. So yeah, I think sometimes it's good to have these conversations so that the wider participation recognise that it's about those boundaries, and if there was ever going to be a yellow card in that game, it wasn't for one isolated incident, it was for repeat offences. And when we got to that point was my judgment, and I feel like I did come out of that judging that just about right.
You've got to back yourself. And I think, again, because I know at this moment in time, you spoke, I can't remember if we were on camera, it might not have been, where you said that you had your debrief on the Sheffield Whitehaven game from the weekend. And of course, that's the side that the documentary touched upon, which is how we got in touch via Raya Phil, and the detail that goes on in those debriefs. And that for me is another a tick in Tara's box, and the fact that, when you do naturally get up to Super League level, the atmosphere, the opinion will grow to a different level because of the size of the crowd. And as an official, you've got to not get drawn into that. You've got to. How difficult is that when you know that the fans at the side are buying for, they want a yellow, they want a red. How difficult as an official is it at times to just keep you calm and back yourself in those situations? It's got to be tough.
Yeah, it can be difficult. Sometimes a lot of the noise from the spectators, especially, can just become noise. So it does just seem like noise. You can generally get a feel if it goes from here to here, kind of what they're getting at. And you can feel that pressure. Then you've got the added pressure of bench staff, coaching staff, players coming towards you as well. But you've kind of got to put this boundary around you and think, no, I'm here to do a role. I can't be influenced by them, and I can't be influenced by them. So it's you as a referee and your two touch judges. Obviously at Super League, you've got a video referee that can input and things like that. But it's you as a team. You are that team that have got to make that decision in that moment. And you kind of almost got to put a bubble around yourself, block everything else out, and factually, to your best knowledge of what you've seen, deal with that incident in the way that you deem fit. So yeah, that's kind of, there's not a really, every incident can be a little bit different. At the weekend, as you just mentioned, Sheffield Whitehaven game, there is a yellow card in that game for one incident that happens. Yeah. All the players come together, they all want to put their opinion across at that one particular point. We've got lots of pushing and shoving going on. I know what I'm doing instantly with the incident, which is a yellow card. That is the outcome I was at. But your first port of call is separate the players, get that team there and that team there, and then you'll have captains, you'll have the person that's done it, the person that it's been done against coming at you. They all want to give you their opinion, and you're like, thank you, I've got it, I know what I'm doing, kind of thing. I know what I'm doing with it. You go over there, and you've got to take your time, take a deep breath, and don't act too hastily, but also act within a reasonable time in a reasonable way. So yeah, it's just about keeping you cool and finding your own personal way of doing that, which yeah, at the weekend, just got the players apart, addressed with my two touch judges. I led the conversation in terms of this is what I've got, this is what I'm giving. Have you got anything else? No, that's fine. Off you go. 10 minutes to the player that did it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've got another great fixture this week. You're getting some belters, aren't you? It's Halifax Batley. You said you've got this week. Is that right?
Yeah, I think that's who's playing each other. Yeah, it's at
Yeah,
Halifax.
outstanding, and that should be a great game. Both of those two sides going well last year and starting off well this year. Yeah, I mean, look, it's fascinating. I mean, just as an intro, I mean, as you were talking there, something just popped into my head, and I'd love to get your gauge on this. This is going to be interesting because of your profile, and because hopefully you are somebody that, like I say, young girls who don't want to play the game of rugby league but would love to officiate the game of rugby league. You know, they are going to aspire to you, which is lovely. I'm going to say it, and some people go, "You're having a laugh. It's not about referees," but actually, you've got to take a step back at times and see the world for what it is. You could become, and probably will become, very important to some young girls out there in terms of what you're doing as an official. Autographs post game.
Yeah.
I've never seen an official, and if there's officials out there that want to correct me on this, have to sign an autograph. How would you feel about that as a match day official, a young girl making a beeline for you at full time as a hero, as somebody that they want to emulate? You know, wanting that photograph and wanting that signature. Wouldn't that break new ground for officials if that was to happen?
Yeah, we have been asked a couple of times, it generally happens, and the lads have been asked as well, the other full-time groups, whatever, but it generally happens, people will wait after the game outside the ground. I think generally as match officials, we we don't have to, but we generally get off the field pretty quickly because
Yeah,
if we start going and mingling with fans every week and things,
yeah, I agree.
not everybody likes us. We know
Yeah,
that. Majority don't want our autograph. But if we can see, like, for me personally, and the lads in the group as well, and other officials, if people come to you and ask you for an autograph, it is a really nice feeling, that you're doing a positive job and that there are people out there that see it as positive, especially younger ones coming through, whether they're just fans or they want to take it up themselves. If we want to give a positive image of match officials, we don't want young people to see, oh, it's a referee, we have to automatically not like them, we have to automatically shout at them, which is some of the role models that they see. That is what is perceived by some people, but we want
yeah.
correct role models where we can be seen in a positive light, that you can disagree with our decision, but you can still like us. And you can still come and ask us for our autograph if you want it, a picture. I've definitely had young girls ask me for a photograph, selfies and stuff like that, and a few autographs. Not as many as when I was a player, no. But that's part and part of the job. But yeah, if I can inspire young girls in particular to want my autograph or whatever. But it's not about my autograph. If they can go and give the sport a go in any capacity, then that's a win.
Absolutely, and I know that you'd have been involved in the nines over the years, and I've attended a couple of those nines, and that is a great occasion. So any young girls who watch this, or any parents of young girls who watch this, they're very special occasions, aren't they? The women's nines, because it is a very community feeling event, isn't it? Where the
Yeah,
players mingle with the crowds between games.
yeah,
I think it's a very unique event. That it's a lovely way for young girls to interact with their heroes, isn't it?
yeah, definitely. And I made sure that this year we used the nines as an opportunity to get those young female match officials that we do have out within that and exposed a little bit, and it was really nice because sometimes when you're on games week to week, you're only with two or three other people. So I might only see one of the young female match officials once every like month or whatever, because of that rotation within officials. Other than at meetings where you've got messages to deliver, you've got everything going on. So the day of the nines was actually really nice because I had quite a few of the young girls together. They got the chance to spend the day together as well as officiate. I could speak to them, get to know them a little bit more. They could get to know me a little bit more, in a really relaxed, fun environment. And it was a chance for them to officiate and have fun as well. And I enjoyed that. I referee weekly now in the professional game. And yes, it is fun, it's enjoyable. But to go to the nines and we put glitter on our faces, it's really relaxed fun. So yeah, that was good to just have a little, like you say, a community. And we interacted with the players, coaching staff. I knew some of the girls wanted to put glitter on, but because we're referees, we've got to be professional. We can't do that kind of thing. And I was like, so that, let's get the glitter out. All the players have got it on. Let's put it on. So I put the glitter on, and I was trying to get Ben Thaler to put it on. He's like, nope, you're not putting that on me. Anyway, Dennis Betts walks up behind and goes, I'll put it on. So I'm then putting glitter on Dennis Betts' face, which meant Ben had to, and the girls around were loving it. And they just really felt like they could then be themselves and not a front of a match official or whatever. They could really be themselves. And I think that has helped some of them relax into it, and show that they can have their personalities in front of being a referee.
That's how you break barriers. That's how you build a bond. That's how
Yeah.
you inspire people to be a part of the rugby league community. We already know the rugby league community is a very special community, but for me, what you've just described there, Dennis doing what he did, Ben doing what he did,
Yeah.
it breaks down the walls.
Yeah.
And what we want is respect, and for you guys as officials, and that's how it's achieved. Little things like that go a long, long way. And if
Yeah.
we, and that one instance could potentially stop 10, 15 people who witnessed it in terms of their behaviour change when they watch a game. And
Yeah.
it's little steps. And I think that's a really great story. Let's try and bring this to a real positive close view. I've hinted at it a few times. The next natural progression of Tara Jones, matchday official, will be to officiate a Super League game at some point in your career. 2026 could be that year. How far off do you believe you are at this moment in time?
The feedback I've been having is really positive. The games I've been being pointed to are really positive. Yeah, but like I just go week by week. We get our appointments week by week, and I don't necessarily put a time frame on it. So yeah, if it's to happen, because it's not a given. I've got to keep performing. The opportunity's got to be right, but if it's to happen when that will be, I don't know. That's up to the coaching staff and the department to see. First of all, when I'm ready, when I'm good enough, and they seem that is the correct level for me to move up to. But also the opportunity's got to be right. So, like the correct game or the correct week. It's not just about me. There's a department to look after as well, and a group of match officials. The sport. We've got to, well, the staff have got to make that decision when they deem it's right. So I don't want to put a timescale on that. Obviously, I want it to happen. I haven't made the decision to retire from playing at a young age and go full time as a referee, and that be my end goal. That isn't my end goal. I do want to go and referee Super League. Ultimately, that's why I made the decision that I did. But in terms of even when that will happen, I guess time will tell, and I hope it does at some point. But I don't want to put too much pressure on it. When the coaches see that I'm ready, I'm sure, and I've got belief in them that they'll make that decision if they deem it the correct one to make.
And what's really important to you, we spoke last week, is that it is done on your officiating ability. That's the key element.
Yeah.
That this is not a tick box exercise for the sport or for you. This is about, no, you are absolutely deserving of being in the middle of a Super League game, an international men's game, whether Challenge Cup finals, whatever. It's very important to you that people realise that this is about your officiating ability. That is when the time is right and not a day before.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm doing this as a match official. Yes, I'm female, but I'm not doing it as a tick box. Like I want to get to the top level of the sport and officiate Super League because I'm a match official, and a good enough match official and deemed a Super League match official. And if that doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But I will do everything I can and work towards that within my power to make sure that hopefully it does happen. Yeah, so I want to be seen just like any of the others that I'm good enough to be there.
100%. And, you know, and it's a shame I've got to say that, but we know what's out there. We know what social media world's
Yeah,
like, and that's the only reason we're talking about it. It's
yeah,
not for any other reason. And what I would just like to say in closing is that, look, we have got, you know, Tara, it's very, very brave what you've done. You know, to do what you have done takes courage in any walk of life. When you're breaking down glass ceilings, that takes courage and it takes conviction. And what I'd say to everybody out there is we've got an opportunity here to really get behind Tara and you know, allow her to fulfill her dreams. Yes, we're allowed to disagree. Tara would 100% agree with me on that. If I think that Tara's made a wrong decision, I have the right to respectfully disagree with Tara's decision. But that word
absolutely.
respect is the key element of it.
Yeah,
We don't have to fall out. We don't have to use bad language. We don't have to call each other names. As long as we have that difference of opinion and we go away as friends. That's all that matters. So look, bottom line is let's throw our weight behind her. Let's support her in every way we can. You've heard it as well today. Don't be afraid of going over and having a photo and wishing her well because, you know, like I say, Tara, you're a human being first, and that
yeah.
again would give you great encouragement, would it, for the fans to just say hello and to wish you well every game.
Yeah, absolutely. I like to think I'm a people person, and I like saying hello to people and being quite sociable. So yeah, definitely. Like you say, we're human first. We're all humans. Yeah, we're match officials, but we're not robots. We are just people. And actually, if you speak to us, we're quite friendly. So yeah,
Absolutely.
definitely. But thank you.
No, not at all. Tara, do you know what? It's been an absolute privilege, and I'm sure we'll keep in touch. And
Yeah, definitely.
we might have you back on down the track when you're a bit further on in your career. But like I say, very, very inspiring. You know, thank you for everything you do for the game of rugby league, because of course you're an integral part. We don't have a game without match day officials. Everybody plays the part. So on behalf of everybody, thanks for all your efforts. I know how much training you do and how much dedication you put in to your craft, as do all of the guys. And keep in touch. Go
Yeah.
well. And I'll be watching at the weekend. Don't you worry about that. You have a great day. Thanks for joining us.
Cheers. Thank you. You too.